Hello, it's Kirsten from the Engineering Career Resource Center. This is going to be the space utilization video in our resume series. It's so common for students to come in with this type of resume with just a ton of information, much of it relevant, but the space not utilized quite right. So I'm going to walk through some of the steps for ways to improve it. Most of the time, the students are trying to keep it to one page, and that is something that I also highly recommend. So we want to keep this resume to one page, but as you can see, it is very small font, no spacing, so it feels very crammed. It's a lot of information in just a small amount of space. So I'm going to try to give it even just the feeling that it's not as crammed as it is. And so there's some tricks that we can do to make you keep the content, which I know is very important for a lot of students, especially when you're trying to highlight projects that have relevant skills. But there are ways to make some improvement. So first step, I'm going to do some counterproductive things. One, this font size too small. So we're going to take it up to a size 10 rather than a size 9. I also really would like to see space in between each of these categories. So there's a very easy way to do that. You can come in and get into the paragraph line space. So it's this tab here with the arrows up and down, line and paragraph spacing. This is available also in Google Docs if that's where you're doing your formatting. So the easiest thing you can do is just go over the spaces, the place in your resume that you want to make space. Hold down the Control key on your keyboard. And then come up, once you've highlighted all the areas where you want space to be, come up into that button, do line spacing, and make it custom. So you're going to put a before space. Let's try 6 point for this, just to give it a little bit of space in between. I also really want to do that within the categories. So for our projects, we have 5 different projects. There needs to be a space in between those. These other ones, we're going to try something out, a different way to make space between these if we end up needing to. But in your work experience, you see that it's just one, so you probably don't need to add a space in between category heading and the experience, but we do need it here in between experiences within a category. So I'm going to do that same thing where I'm just holding down Control, highlighting the lines that I want to put a space before, coming in, doing my line spacing, and giving it a 6 point. And that gives that out. So then I'm going to take all of this information because I can see that I've got some interesting, oh, I must have highlighted that whole last one. So I did something wrong there, so now I can come back and I can just fix that by going back in and removing it back to a 0 point space. Okay, so now I'm going to come back in and I'm going to fix a little bit of the margins. So you see there's lots of white space on the outside of this resume. We're going to try to utilize the whole document by just pulling these out to half-inch margins all the way through. So I'll do that on the bottom. I'll do that on the top. And I've got a header in here. So you'll have to do it by double clicking in the header space, and then you'll see you've got a big long half-inch margin, more than inch margin there. So you get that down to a half-inch. So we're getting there. Not quite there yet, but we will. So next thing that you want to do is get rid of your physical. We're going to make some changes to the heading here. Physical address is not required or recommended, so we can just delete that right out. And then we can pull all of the contact information up onto one line. And then in between each of these categories, we just want to put some space, so a little long hash mark. And then we're going to increase this font size of the heading from a 10 up to 1 or 2 font sizes bigger. I see that I also have some tabs up in this space, which I don't need. So I'm just going to clear those out. And now you'll see that we still have 2 pages, and we just have these 2 little lines over in this other page. So we're going to try to see what we can do to fix that with the content that we have. So one way that we can do that is we can pull up all information for our work experience onto one line. So now I just have one more little section that I need to get pulled up onto this page, and I won't need to do any changes to the content, only the format to make this a single page, but still readable, clean, and clear. So I'm going to try this here. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of space and there might be room to move, so there is. So all I did was just go down to that line and I pulled that one to fill up this extra space that we had, and now voila, I have it all on a single page. It's much more easily readable. I have one little more movement that I'm going to try to make here. If I can put a little space in between, great. So I have space in between each of my categories. I've kept all of the detail and content that the student brought to me, and we are able to keep all those skills, all 5 projects, a relevant work experience, and all of these other sections that really show to highlight the student. My last point about this resume is that it is a clean text document. You want to make sure that you don't have tables, boxes, text boxes, columns in a resume in order to do the formatting. You want to make sure that you're using the tab stops in order to make that line up right. And I'm going to have another couple of videos that walk through those steps, so feel free to jump over to the resume playlist and let us know if you have any other specific videos that you'd like to see. All right, thank you.